winner there. Didn't
How
know.
about
All right. If you have a question for Kevin, go ahead, use the raise hand tool. We'll start off first with James Henderson. Go ahead, James.
Hey, Kevin, hope you're doing well this morning. Obviously, you were able to get Jack back some action against Boston College. Just watching the tape back, how do you evaluate what you saw from him? Where is he at physically right now?
Well, I thought he did a good job in his limited amount of minutes. Obviously, his conditioning is nowhere where we want it to be. We literally threw him in a couple practices last week, and I was very cautious, so I didn't let him have many reps and didn't know how the game was going to go, whether we are going to put him in or not. But he came out of the game feeling well. The crazy thing, you could have, with his type of injury, a wrong movement in practice or anything else could kind of set you back a little bit. But it was really good to get him back out on the floor. You'd kind of forget how well he could rebound the basketball in a little bit amount of time. And I think he made a couple threes. So it was refreshing to see him back out there.
And just to follow up, prior to that game, Jarkel had a couple of off-night shooting. Did you have a sense going in that he was going to be able to give you what he gave you against Boston College?
Well, I thought he played James against two really unique defenses that can make guards struggle at times. But I don't worry about him or Terquavion, because I know both of those guys will kind of figure it out. And but it was really good to see him play really good basketball. He was back to playing Jarkel Joyner basketball, driving the ball, and he's really at his best when he's getting after it on the defensive end, and that kind of motivates him on the offensive end.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
Corey Smith, go ahead.
Kevin, kind of piggybacking off the Jack Clark conversation, is there any update at this point on Dusan and where things stand for him?
It's not. I mean, he's not available, Corey. I've said before, and I want to be realistic about it. I'm not even sure if it's, if he's going to return this year. I mean, his injury, he's going back and forth. It was the same thing that he did last year at Utah. And sometimes when you injure the same body part a couple times, it takes a little bit longer. So we're hopeful, we're grateful, but, I wouldn't, I don't know where that's going to end up at.
And kind of as a follow-up to that, has there been any thought process of, looking into where things might stand for things like a medical waiver for him?
We haven't, and just because we want to keep everything positive, where there's an opportunity that maybe he will play towards the end of the year. That's something that obviously could be on the table if he does not. But right at this point, we have not.
All right, last thing for you. Sorry. I wanted to look at the Syracuse matchup too. Obviously, you guys have played well in the past against the 2-3 zone. What types of things does your team need to do to be successful against the zone 2?
Well, I mean, you obviously you have to shoot the ball well. I think you have to move the ball well and do a good job. And one of the things is try to get into some type of transition so you don't have to play against that set defense the entire night. But as I've said this on this call plenty of times, they are the golden standard for the 2-3 zone, and they do such a good job at it, and they kind of adjust to what you're doing. So I think you got to give different looks and put people in different places. But certainly one of the ways you can beat it is you got to shoot it, and that's not easy to do.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Royal Howell, go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. How we doing?
Good morning.
Coach, how shocked was Terquavion when you came into the locker room and told him that he had reached his 1,000-point threshold following the win? How shocked was he?
Well, I think he was shocked, but I mean, as far as he was concerned, he probably thought he had 3,000 points at that point. I probably was low for him. He was happy, the great thing about him, one of the reasons he's back here is because he's such a great kid and he enjoys the process. But I want you to think about what he's done, not even finished his sophomore year to score 1,000 points and counting. Great kid, but Royal, he was excited. He was happy. And I think what was refreshing to me that his teammates were just as happy for him also.
How did you challenge your team, Coach, after the Virginia loss? I believe the 50 points were the lowest that you've scored all season. But you all had a nice response, came out, dropped 92, 30-piece BC. How do you think the challenge of your team this week prevailed for that matchup previously?
Well, I think we made shots. I mean, when you look back at the Virginia game, I thought we had some opportunities that we left on the rim. We missed a few layups. We missed some open shots. And when you're playing against a great defensive team at home, you got to have every basket. They do such a great job of controlling tempo that you're not going to score a lot of points against those guys. And I thought our guys bounced back. We just had to get focused and lock in. And, we were going into the BC game playing against a very good team who had just won at Virginia Tech. And so it didn't take a lot for me to have to get them back focused because they knew obviously how good BC could be.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
We'll go to James Henderson again.
Yeah, Kevin, you guys ended the Boston College game, I think the last 4 minutes playing some zone. You've played it very sparingly this year. Is that just getting out of that game? Just want to get a look at it? What was up with that?
Oh no, we're going to 2-3 zone.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's anybody that's scouting us got to understand that we have that zone package and we'll pull that out at any moment now.
Well, I wanted to ask you because Synergy has you guys in zone this year. Teams are 1 for 14 against you from the field.
Well,
So-
that's and no disrespect of Synergy because we do a good job, but we have not played 14 possessions of zone.
Okay, there you go.
And I'm not. I understand a lot of people get paid a lot of money to make those, but we have not played 14. So whatever that was, matter of fact, I'm gonna go back and have my video guys pull that. I want to see what 14 possessions they have us in. Yeah,
Appreciate it, Kevin.
thank you.
We'll go to Luke DeCock.
Hey, Kevin, I just want to follow up on Dusan. He'd been out before games, working with Torn and doing things like that. Was there some sort of setback, or is this just the process taking longer than it looked like it might at one point?
Well, it's different, Luke. Sometimes it depends on the game. Sometimes he'll get a workout in early in the day and not at the game time situation. But he's been, we've been very careful with him. It just depends on the workload that he's had a couple of days leading up to it. So it's not so much that game, pre-game workout that you always see him in is going to always happen. It may be, maybe a day off for him. But it's a challenge, because he's working really hard as anyone that I've ever had to try to get back from an injury. And I certainly hope it happens for him. But it's going to be a challenge. And, I don't want the expectations to be, hey, he's definitely coming back, because I would say, it's probably 50-50 at this moment.
We've got a Kip Coons.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
Kip, how you doing?
Saturday, I'm good, thank you. Saturday, you get to your 20th win of the season, and after last season, that represents such a dramatic turnaround in your fortunes. What did it mean to your players and maybe your program to reach that level? And it's only mid-February right now.
Kip, I've said this, these guys do all the heavy lifting as coaches. Obviously, we try to, put people in the right spots. But I'm happy for our guys. I'm happy for our guys in general. But when you look at the guys that was on last year's roster, I'm really excited for them. They didn't deserve that. Terquavion Smith coming in as a freshman, had won 3 state championships, and we had been pretty successful with our first losing season, as a program under me. And for, Terquavion and Casey Morcell and E.B. Dewana, Breon Passage on that team, Greg Gann and Ernest Ross, that meant a lot to those guys. And then, for the transfer guys, to come in and be such an impact, I was just happy to see those guys smile because of the accomplishments that they've had. And, getting to, the end February, 10 wins and 20, overall wins, I think that's special for those guys. Obviously, we still have a lot of work, and I don't think anybody's satisfied with just that, but it was rewarding for those guys.
All right, and the final question is from Rob McLam, who is driving, so I'll read it for you. If you can, please ask Kevin about the value of Casey Morcell's steadiness that he brings to the team.
Man, Casey Morcell's been great. You know what? When I realized that Casey Morcell has been really good, man, and he's such an unbelievable kid. They booed him at UVA. I couldn't believe that. They booed my guy at UVA. He has been really, really, really good for us. And probably, our most steady player that we've had consistent. He never gets too high, never gets too low. He does a tremendous job of playing off of those guards, Jarkel and Terquavion, and running the corner, getting threes, and been very valuable. And I don't talk about as much how good he's been defensively because his offense is taking off so much, but he's also been really good defensively too. And he's been a great kid and an unbelievable person to have in our program.
Kevin, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. That wraps up the call